Hey, this is our third video about our Silicon Valley tour. Today we visited Startup Genome and Twitter. We visited Richmond View Ventures as well. And in the evening we went to an event called Native Apps versus Mobile Apps. It was in total a very interesting day, and now we want to give you a few insights into what we've learned today.
So Startup Genome started off as a research study that we did in Stanford on trying to understand how startups evolve and what makes them successful, what makes them fail. And we later on built a product that is called Startup Compass, that you can find at startupcompass.co, that now provides benchmarks and recommendations to startups with the goal of helping them to reduce this massive failure rate, to help them make better decisions. Whether you succeed or not really has to do with your company, and every company is unique in the way of how they succeed, but they're very similar in how they fail. I think for the life of a technology entrepreneur, so someone who's going into technology, it's very helpful to understand technology, and therefore it's useful to study like informatics or engineering, mechanical engineering even, and certainly a lot more practical, especially in the beginning when you start building something and you can actually start building things yourself instead of having to find someone else to do the work for you. It's always the best if you can translate the image you have in your mind directly into a product without needing someone else.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and thanks for recording this and sharing this. Really appreciate it. For many more people, though, Twitter is more of an open information network. Many people use it while they're watching TV or while they're at a big event to share it with people or to learn more about world news. It's really interesting to see every day, and I'm surprised how different users in Germany, for example, and in other countries use Twitter in a different context. And I'm surprised every day to see just how creative people are with the medium. So I think the way I use Twitter and the way you use Twitter and the way somebody else uses Twitter can be very different. I'm very happy to say that we see a lot of new people on Twitter in Germany that recognize this as an opportunity for them to do what they want to do with it, and to use it for their purpose, the way they want it, whether watching Tatort on a Sunday night or Wetten Das, or watching a soccer game and talking about their favorite club, or talking about world news, or the upcoming elections in September 2013 is a huge topic that people are really passionate about. So I'm really keen to see more.
So for an early stage internet mobile startup, there are kind of three main criteria. As all investors, my main criteria is the team, a complementary team, ideally what they call over here a hacker, hustler, and a designer. Hacker is quite obvious, this is a tech guy. Hustler, it's like the business guy who hustles. And then I think even more important now in B2C startups, a designer who understands design, user interface design. I think that's very important. Then in addition to that, you should have established already your own prototype. So that's kind of, for me, important. Okay, there's a team. And clearly, without funding, you can't have a complete prototype, but what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product. So a product which works, is viable enough, for example, with one feature and has shown the initial traction. And then lastly, clearly, market. We all look for the billion-dollar market. I'm not so fussed about the exact numbers of that market size, but it's important to have a large market to give you enough room for failure, or let's put it that way, for mistakes from which you can learn. I think what we have here is a very established ecosystem. That's why we call it still Silicon Valley. It dates back to the 80s when silicon was still produced here. From then we have like an ecosystem developing of successful entrepreneurs selling their company, investing in new entrepreneurs, and so on. And I think that's kind of the successes we are seeing. I mean, Berlin is very successful the last couple of years because we see that, the first wave of the .com, 99, 2000, we had some successful entrepreneurs. They've been investing, helping new startups. The first successful companies coming out of that 2004, 5, 6, and continuing. And I think that's what we see in Berlin. But still, it's a very different scale. I would say it's 5 to 10x, just larger, more fun over here. Although I have to say, I love Berlin. I also love investing there. So I think we are on a very good route to establish a comparable ecosystem in Europe.